So Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, the mummy, the Gillman, the Wolfman. Only one 1980s cult classic has them all, in all their ferocious glory. That film is The Monster Squad. In the late 19th century, legendary vampire hunter Abraham Van Helsing led a siege upon the castle of Count Dracula, the amulet of concentrated good, in an attempt to cast all monsters into limbo. They blew it. 100 years later, his diary comes into the possession of Sean Crenshaw, who leads a group of pre-teens who idolize classic movie monsters, calling themselves the Monster Squad. Sean and his friends work up the courage to visit the scary German guy, who turns out to be a kindly gentleman, to translate the German text in Van Helsing's diary. They learn of the amulet and its power, and that they only have a few days before it becomes vulnerable to destruction. However, danger approaches as Dracula reawakens, joined by the Wolfman, the Mummy, the Gillman, and Frankenstein's monster, to help the Count take control of the amulet and plunge the world into darkness. Now the Monster Squad are the only ones who can stand in his way and save the world from his impending reign of evil. So The Monster Squad is definitely one of those films I grew up with in the 80s and the 90s, always having it be a special treat. Whenever I saw it on television or was able to rent it, it was just always one of those films like, this is such a good film that really does stand the test of time in a lot of ways. And it is such a shame that this film was a box office bomb, because it had an estimated budget around $12 million and only made back about $3.7 million. Which is not too much of a surprise when you realize what film it opened 2 weeks after, being The Lost Boys. A film that obviously had much more of a broader appeal, with both teenagers and young kids and all things in between. Even though it was rated R, it just had much more of a style to it that really kind of captured the time much more strongly. And like I said, probably had a wider appeal with much more multifaceted qualities to it. Doesn't mean Monster Squad isn't still a great fucking movie that pays great tribute to the classic monsters of Universal horror. And it's really shocking. It's really surprising the amount of talent this film had behind it. And it absolutely does show on screen, because first off, this was co-written and directed by Fred Dekker. Also did Night of the Creeps, and kind of the unfortunate soul that ended up getting dumped on with RoboCop 3. But he is a great talent that really never got his due in Hollywood to really break out and be such a fantastically shining star. But the film is also co-written by Shane Black, who a lot of fucking people know. The guy is responsible for Lethal Weapon, The Last Boy Scout. He did a little bit of writing on Predator. He's done amazing work in a lot of different places, all over the place, all over the years. The guy's one of the best writers of certain genres, like the action genre, which this film does kind of delve into a little bit, but also has executive producer Peter Hyams behind it, who is an amazing filmmaker, always makes such great looking films with a lot of great stuff in them. He did Outland and Time Cop and 2010, and you can kind of see a little bit of his visual style in this film. Really kind of do in a lot of cases. He wasn't the cinematographer, he wasn't the director, but you can see an influence on the visual style of this film that he has in his other films, with a lot of kind of smoke and grit and kind of high contrast type of atmosphere and everything. A little bit of that is in this film, and that makes it look so gorgeous. This movie has fantastic cinematography, and it also has fantastic work from Stan Winston Studios, bringing these Universal classic horror monsters into such a glorious age of the 80s, with a lot of great talent behind it. This film has so much fantastic, lush talent behind it that absolutely glows on screen. Every single person, you can really see their work just flourish throughout this whole film. And director Fred Dekker really delivers a lot of great high quality horror with this film, while still remembering to inject a little bit of fun and adventurous spirit as well. And I think the mix this film has is just absolutely fantastic, that it maintains great integrity with the serious dramatic story that it's trying to tell here, always maintaining respect for the characters that it creates and the characters it is paying tribute to. These classic horror monsters, the classic icons of universal horror, are paid such tribute, paid such respect in this film, that I think anyone who is a big fan of those old black and white films from the 30s and 40s and such really owes it to themselves to see these characters brought to such great modern life in this film. I think these filmmakers just had so much love and passion and care for these characters that they just wanted to bring them back into such a great mainstream type of setting in a modern type of film that has, I love in the first scene of the film that you have it set back in that time, that it feels a bit, maybe a little bit like a Hammer horror film of sorts, where you have Van Helsing coming in to take everyone down, open up the portal and everything, and then they kind of blow everything. And then you shift into the modern 1987 and everything, and it just, putting them into this new setting, and it just feels so great. Just like, it still maintains such a great horror environment and atmosphere overall. The Dekker does such a great job of capturing, and just, man, it's just so good seeing this film with so many great solid characters, just adding so much more to the film. It's not just about scares. It builds up some very strong and very substantive characters. And I think that great fine balance of serious story and charming fun is wonderfully exemplified in all these young actors of the film, who inhabit very distinct characters who never blend into one another. They all have their own distinct qualities about themselves, and they all hold their weight very, very well. Andre Gower really portrays Sean as a great sort of confident and somewhat inspiring leader too. He really motivates the rest of the Monster Squad into action in the film, because he really feels like has sort of a bit of a kinship with Abraham Van Helsing. It feels like he needs to be his successor, take up his mantle, finish his mission and everything. It really kind of feels like he has a spiritual sort of connection with Van Helsing in the film, and it really just kind of rises up to being that great leader of the whole squad and everything. And you got a lot of great characters here, such as, his name is not Fat Kid, his name is Horace. Just a great character with a fantastic little arc in the film. That goes from this kid who's bullied at school to the end of the film where he has that great fucking sort of action hero type of moment. Makes the character just, yeah, that's the character of this film. But also got Rudy too, the kind of older, kind of cooler leather jacket wearing kid who kind of has a little edginess and credibility to the squad. They're not a bunch of like little film geeks or whatnot. Kind of this guy who's a little cooler, a little bit more hip and everything, wants to be part of this squad and everything, so it just adds a little bit something extra. And he also has a great sort of action hero moment in the climax, slinging arrows at the vampire brides and everything. Just all these characters are really well portrayed. They're all fleshed out. They're all solid. They just have all great qualities. They just feel like, just like the kids you would have known back in the time. Just wonderfully written, wonderfully acted, just wonderfully directed too. All of them just really shine on screen. Just add so much endearing charm to the film that just makes it what it is. And then you got Stephen Macht and Mary Ellen Trainor as Sean and Phoebe's parents, who do have their own subplot of strained marriage in the film, which is not entirely necessary to have been there, but it does add more emotional dimensional qualities to the film, and it resonates where it really needs to. And that's with Sean's character, because it allows for Sean and his father to have this good heartfelt bond. It really kind of adds more of a weight on Sean's shoulders to allow him to be this guy who has a lot of three-dimensional qualities to him, and he's got a lot of, kind of like the weight of the world on his shoulders. Eventually, he's got a lot of very relatable problems, a lot more fantastical problems that really just flesh him out, solidify him as this much more confident type of stronger character overall, that he can, even though he's got all this stuff weighing him down and everything in a lot of ways, that he's able to rise up and be inspirational to the rest of the Monster Squad and just come out as a very strong character overall that you can really get behind. And of course, now we come to my favorite Dracula of all time. Duncan Regher's performance as Dracula is just absolutely incredible to me. He is so fully absorbed in this character. It is fantastic what they do with Dracula in this movie, because right from the first moment he shows up on screen, this guy has a goddamn presence to him. He is so theatrical in how he carries himself, and so intimidating in how he's presented. Oh, this film does so much great stuff with Dracula, and this actor does so much great, amazing stuff soaked into the skin of this character. He has such a great, cold-blooded, violent quality to him that is just absolutely chilling. Oh man, this guy has no qualms, no hesitation about anything he has to do. He'll rip your throat out. I love it when he shows up at the kid's house and just throws dynamite into the clubhouse, thinking he's just going to murder these kids. He is absolutely cutthroat, violent, fucking Dracula who's not going to waste time with anything. He's not going to waste time with romance. He's not going to waste time with anything. He's going right for it. Because his plan is to fucking destroy the world. This guy is fucking great in this role. I just love so much what he does. Such a rich, terrifying, and compelling performance. Oh man, there's just a great thing that there's not that much given to him in the script of the film. There's a lot of things that they could really flesh out a lot more and really delve a lot deeper into this character, but with what Regher does with the character, his performance fleshes him out so much, so deeply, so expansive. He feels so has such breadth to him, such a wide canvas that you could paint this guy on. This is an amazing performance to me. I think everything he does with the great passion he puts in the role and the sort of blood-curdling, chilling stuff that he does all over the film, so great. And he doesn't need to become a monster of sorts. He doesn't have to turn into a elaborate creature to scare the crap out of you. Everyone else has to have all these prosthetics on to become a monster. Dracula just is a fucking monster in the skin. Such a fantastic performance. I love it. I absolutely love this Dracula. Every other Dracula that I've seen, whether it's Langella or Gary Oldman, they do offer some great things, all unique type of things, but if I want a Dracula who is just fucking badass, just flat out fucking badass, is just absolutely horror personified, this is fucking it for me. I love it so deeply, so dearly. This is just Dracula to the hilt for me. Everything I want is right here in this role. But Tom Noonan as Frankenstein's monster deserves special recognition as well, because it's Francis Dollarhide from Manhunter, Manhunter right here. Reviews coming soon, but Tom Noonan is such a fantastic performer. This guy does such amazing work in everything he does. And as Frankenstein's monster, you can really see the depth of tragic humanity in this character. It's such a touching and heartfelt performance that really just hits you right here. Just genuine, absolutely genuine. Captures the heart of these kids, of the audience, everything that you feel for this character all the way through the whole film. Definitely when you get to the end and there's such a sorrowful, tearful sort of goodbye with him. Tom Noonan does such a wonderful performance as Frankenstein's monster, just showing that great quality of the character, the concept of the character, that he's not a vicious monster. He is very much that he's just a tragic type of figure that has been scorned and feared and everything for all the wrong reasons. And Tom Noonan does such a fantastic performance in this role. You can just feel so much for him. But then you got Jonathan Gries as the Wolfman, who is just fucking great too. I love how they write the Wolfman in this thing, that the man himself is actually frightened to fucking death of becoming this monster. He just goes completely crazy when he knows the full moon is coming in, he's going to change. He tries to get the police to lock him the fuck up because he is terrified of becoming this monster and just unleashing it, because once he does, he is completely Dracula's willing ally. And he's just ferocious. He is just great in this film. The Wolfman is just fucking fantastic. And yeah, Wolfman's got nards too, so... little things of this film are just so great. There's so many little things that you take from this film. A lot of little good quips and everything. And everyone remembers Wolfman's got nards. And it doesn't measure up to like The Howling or American Werewolf in London, but the transformation sequence in this film is still pretty damn impressive in my view. Pretty damn good, I think. And moving on from that, you got Stan Winston Studios, who are at the absolute, to this date, still the absolute high benchmark of creature effects. Everything in this field is measured by what Stan Winston and his team had done in all these years. And this was the same year that gave us Predator with his great work too. And he brings the same level of realistic textured quality to all these monsters as he did the Predator. All these characters just look fantastic. They took the classic designs, updated them, and gave them so much more authenticity on screen. They just look so fucking fantastic. They just look so good. They live, they breathe, really breathe. You can see the breath, you can see the movement, you can see the detail on them. Absolutely right up to the standards of what Stan Winston absolutely delivered at his peak of work. And you got even Tom Woodruff Jr. and Al Gillis, who picked up his work in the Alien franchise, also working on this film. Like I said, there's so much great talent working on this film, and their work just absolutely shines like living hell here. And his team's great effects work with all these terrifying monsters and a lot of different states of being too, like when Dracula's in that sort of mid-bat transformation later in the film is just very unsettling and disturbing too, which is very interesting for a PG-13 rated film. But this is 1980s PG-13, where you could get away with a lot of interesting type of and surprising stuff. There's a couple of swear words in the film. There's some, frankly, there is some very scary stuff in this film. Fred Dekker builds a lot of great tension and suspense and atmosphere in this film that really fucking works tremendously well. That you do not even really kind of realize that there's not really any gore in the film, that you make that PG-13 rating without having that graphic gore in the film. But man, this film delivers on scares. It really does. When you see these monsters like the Wolfman coming out trying to stalk a victim or something like that, or wherever it is, Dracula himself is just fucking scary as living shit too. A lot of great, really scary moments in this film that really pay off. It don't make you think this PG-13 at all. But all the great atmosphere, the good story this film has, that is not anything that's all that highly complicated, but really just is a great type of classic type of horror story where you got these monsters coming together for this magic amulet to open up a portal to another dimension that'll let all these creatures and stuff free and all these monsters free. And you got these band of heroes that are going to come together and stop them before midnight. A lot of great sort of classic horror tropes and ideas and everything. They're just melded together in such a great original fresh package and a great sort of 1980s modern setting. Everything is just captured and realized so very well in this film. Only thing I would put against the film is that it has an 82-minute runtime, which on the plus side, it makes for a very tightly paced, sort of brisk type of movie. But you really kind of feel like there's something a little short there that I would love, because they definitely show that there is a certain bond between Dracula and Frankenstein's monster that is only really kind of explored in one scene in the film, just really briefly, that all the heroes, the protagonists of the film, really get their time to really kind of flesh themselves out, really tell their stories and everything. I would love to have seen an arc with Frankenstein's monster, really kind of show him going from Dracula's willing ally, that they have some kind of very kind of tragic past. Right? There's really a very strong bond there between them, to really kind of see an arc that Frankenstein kind of changes or something like that. He kind of gets turned around from being sort of a darkly motivated monster to being that great sort of heartfelt type of ally and hero in the film. Just like, I would love to see that arc just kind of really exemplified and really kind of just given so much more substance in the film. If you had those couple extra minutes to make it that 90-minute movie, I think that subplot would have been just such a great strong suit in this film. That, as it is, it really kind of goes underdeveloped, and that's kind of a shame too, because like I said, Regher and Noonan are probably the strongest and most remarkable acting talents in this film. I giving them something a little bit more substantive, a little bit something deeper to work with, would have made this film so absolutely put it right over the top for me. But Monster Squad is such a great movie as it is. So scary, so fun. Just a great film, just all over the place. Just one of those cult classics that really did eventually got its due and recognition and respect in the DVD era. 20th anniversary, they put out this great set. All the commentaries, the featurettes, the special features, all this stuff. People finally realized this was a great cult classic film that should not go overlooked. So much great talent, so much great quality in this film. They absolutely put forth a great package with this DVD several years ago, and just like, this is a film that is not going to be forgotten by time. It's going to be remembered for all time. There's plenty of great stuff in this film, and I would love to hear what you guys think of the Monster Squad. And if you love Dracula in this film as much as I do, I'd love to hear that, or just whatever you like about this film, I'd love to hear about, because like I said, obviously I think it's just a fantastic film, loaded with some solid, serious horror moments and some great, fantastic stuff all around. That just love to talk about this film, obviously, and I would love to hear what you guys have to say. If you love the review, love Monster Squad, just hit that like button, everything, that thumbs up. Spread the link around too. Get more people interested in Forever Horror Month, and get more vampires, a couple other things going on in Forever Horror Month. Won't let you down. Got a lot of month left to go, so thinking of a couple of surprises for you guys. So tell me what you love about Monster Squad, and what's your favorite Universal classic horror icon? You love Wolfman, Frankenstein's monster? Just throw it down below and tell me what you love about them, and I'll be back in due time with a little more Forever Horror Month.